Show with Paul Daner, Mark Salafo. Kick off the weekend, all right. It's the Growler Friday Show. It's Dey Light.
All right, welcome into the latest edition of Dey Light on the Growler podcast. What is up, Mark? How are we doing?
I'm fired up. It's camp time. Real football's happening. Important practice reps are out there.
So many things are happening. A lot's happening. It's been a week. It's been a week.
What flag are you flying for training camp?
Well,
What's up today?
You know what? I'm still honestly kind of on a high off last weekend's big Oakley party at the St. Cecilia Festival. So the Oakley flag is still flying strong, still up there. It was that good of a weekend. It was that good of a weekend in the hood. So
you know that it's a good weekend when there's a flag hangover. That is a rare thing. You're not having Mother's Day up for 2 extra weeks because you went hard at brunch, you know?
Yeah. No, it was real. It was a big weekend. We can get to some of that later because it was a great time around the hood. But then all the fun, the big summer party came to an end and the crazy work week began. And here we are. We started off with mock turtle soup on Monday. We had the kickoff of practice on Wednesday, return of Tee Higgins. Jamar Chase isn't practicing. Joe Burrow's hair is bleached blonde. Dogs and cats living together. Mass hysteria is basically what it's been this week.
Yeah, it's been chaos, you know, for you being down there and everything's happening at once, all this big stuff. But I think if we're going to go jump right into my favorite Bengals story of the week, it's got to be, with all the noise out there, it's Joe Burrow looking fantastic, right? Like 2 days in, he's looked like Joe Burrow. And that's an enormous relief to people like me.
Yeah, you know, Jay and I spent a good amount of time talking about it. We've been doing these training camp daily recaps, quick hits,
big
like
hit,
10 minutes on the YouTube channel, the Growler podcast on YouTube. I hope you're
going to do
there
them after every practice.
After every practice day, we're down there just giving you a quick. It's just one takeaway, it's one play, it's one thing we heard them say. We did it because they all rhyme. I don't know if you noticed that. But,
you writers, you're so cute.
Yeah, it's what we do. It's what we do. And that's it. And keep it to 10 minutes just to give you a little brief feeling for what happened during the day. We spent a lot of time talking about Burrow after day one, obviously. And because that was it. And everybody wants to, we got to talk about the hair and all that stuff. And hey, cool. Like, I'm here for it. It's entertaining. It's fun. You know, we can make all the Slim Shiesty jokes and all the other things. But the story is going to be, how does Joe Burrow look throwing the football, you know? And Duke Tobin said earlier this week, you know, I think the wrist is a thing of the past. And then Joe Burrow went out there and proved that it probably is a thing of the past. Now, it hasn't been perfect, and I still don't think that we have crossed that line of knowing for certain, because I still think this is about when you get deeper into camp and it's full 11 on 11 and he's having to fit footballs into tight windows and all of that other stuff and do that consistently. And you want to see it over time and judge that accuracy. I mean, he said himself, he's still working on some of this stuff. Some of this stuff, it's not always coming out exactly like he wants it to. And so there's still some tinkering going on. You don't want to hear about tinkering still going on as you get to within 1 week of the season. But that was his point, is as you go through this process, the stretches between tinkering and figuring stuff out is further apart until you're just, it's all good now. And he's not all the way there yet, but I think you can see, watching him launch it, watching him rip it into tight spots pretty consistently now, that it looks really good. And it looks like it's in a pretty good place for right now. And that's huge. It's what really matters around here more than all the other frivolous stuff that's being discussed.
Yeah, there's a lot of camp storylines that are going to come up and flare up for a few days and then go away. But this is one that, even when you heard Burrow talk about it before and people around the team were like, it's going to be fine, it's going to be fine, you still are never 100% sure on that until you see it. And like seeing those videos of him slinging the ball around, and that really restored a lot of faith and confidence. Like, okay, maybe he is going to be okay. Maybe this is going to be fine. Because like a lot of camp too, and I know that especially after day 2, everyone's like, wow, he was 10 for 10 or whatever it was. And he was really cooking out there, even without his big receivers. the problem that I have with the camp stuff is like you're still going against your defense. So even on those days when it's like the offense is incredible, this receiver you've never heard of is going to be the future. Is he? Or is that like a bad day for the defense? You know, because it's still those guys. Are they struggling if they're letting this guy you've never heard of cook out there?
Yeah.
You kind of have to weigh that with all the camp hype that comes out. But it's good to at least see that Burrow is looking a little bit more like himself.
Yeah, absolutely. It is a double-edged sword. You know, it's like, oh, wait, is my take here that Burrow looked good or Dax Hill looked bad? You know, you're constantly trying to decide who was at fault, who was great, who deserves the credit, blame. Inevitably, like I just think it's kind of from the Burrow perspective, it's gone along the lines of what we've been saying. It's just at each milepost, the box gets checked. The box gets checked. And I think at the 11 on 11 full day of work, the box got checked. It's not, there's still more. But I do think that you're seeing it. And he just, I kind of tried to my story was one of these things where we just document every throw and talk a little bit about what exactly we saw out there over the course of that day. And it felt normal, and everything has just been so far from normal for him for so long between last year's camp and the camp before that and the camp before that. And then the last 9 months and the uncertainty, this rehab and football mortality and all of this, it felt like, okay, here's Joe Burrow in 11 on 11 processing and eating the defense up for the most part. Like, looking like himself and going over and signing autographs and being a kind of a jovial guy in the post-game press conference. You can sense that he's just feeling confident and good about where he's at by all those other little things. You know, he's happily taking on more media responsibilities. Like, if he wasn't feeling super, he'd be like, nah, I don't think I want to do this, that, or the other that's coming down the pike. I don't want to go down. I'm not going to pretend that I'm some happy guy in this press conference. I'm not going to, I don't know, do something crazy like dye my hair because I'm bored. Like I think that is something that does show a comfort level with how he feels in general right now about his football self. And that has come through a little bit in these practices, and that, you're 100% right, is and will continue to be the important storyline of this camp as it goes forward.
And you'll never get past that either until you get through, like, the joint practices will be another hurdle. And if he actually gets preseason snaps, how does he look there? And then first game, like, those are still going to be moments you monitor and care about a lot. But one of my favorite things that really shows that camp is back and we've got football is just your comments on your stories, or the comments that are left on your stories on The Athletic. Like, I was reading that one you were talking about. And, those comments are usually so much nicer than everywhere else, Twitter, YouTube, whatever. And I saw one that was like, this is your best article in a while, in just all caps, just the most double-sided compliment ever. Just really crapping on everything you've done over the past 6 weeks. Like, finally, Paul's giving us a good article.
You have really not been trying for a few months. Nice to see a little effort, Well,
Yeah.
You know what? It's amazing how differently stories read when something is actually happening. Okay. Like, that's just it. When inventing things out of nowhere and making crap up is, it's not a great season. There's a reason people take that time off. Okay. Because it's a lot more interesting to write about things when there's, things to write about. Fairly important. But I appreciate that. I appreciate every two-sided compliment that I get. My story of the week, though, personally I've enjoyed, is the return of Tee Higgins. Not because he's back or we've spent forever writing about it or there was a 4-part series or anything like that. I have really appreciated what he has had to say and his perspective on this. And, I think he's been very genuine and real and honest. And, we kind of sat down. He actually, so behind the scenes on this, on Wednesday, it's like, okay, is T talking? Is T going to talk? He's here. He's going to talk. And he had done something earlier with Jeff Hobson at the website. And so he had done his Bengals thing there, and that was kind of out there. But obviously, talking to all of us is going to have a little different tone and set of questions. And so we were wondering, and he said he was going to, but he was doing it at the same time that Burrow was in the press conference. So you had to choose: are you going to do T? Or are you going to do Burrow? Are you going to do T? Are you going to do Burrow? What are you going to do? And a lot of people chose Burrow. I didn't. That's going to be out there. Like I know what, and that's fine. You got to make a choice. But I'm just more interested in having potentially a little bit more of a one-on-one-ish time with T. And he was great in that setting. And there ended up being probably about 8 or 9 of us in there with him. And I cut up about 5 minutes of this for you guys to listen to here, take in, hear what T had to say. And I'll discuss this a little bit here on the backside of it. But here was Tee Higgins. This was on Wednesday with a small gathering of reporters.
T, what went into the decision to sign, get in here, be here day one, be out here day one? What went into that for you?
Yeah, man, there's a lot of talks back and forth with my agent, what I wanted to do. Obviously, the Bengals, they weren't making no moves other than, obviously tagging me. But, man, it was just like, I grew up with nothing at the end of the day. And, 21-8, that's life-changing money. You know what I'm saying? I could live with that for the rest of my life if I wanted to. So, but obviously I wanted more, and didn't happen. But, I made the decision to sign it and be here with my guys.
Jesse Bates talked about, I don't know if you saw what he said. You probably talked to him, I'd imagine. Something about essentially, when I went through that year, I got in my head a little bit. And my message to T is like, just ball out. Every year is a contract year. Did you hear that? Have you talked to him? And how much do messages from former players kind of resonate with you in this?
Definitely heard it. Haven't talked to him. I like to let guys just, work and do their own thing. I'm really an introvert, don't really care too much about the outside noise. But definitely saw what he said, and, I took it to heart. Contract year, and just got to play like it. Got to play, be my best this year and do what I do best.
T, how much was chasing a championship important for you and being here and playing this season for the Bengals?
It's very important, man. We've been close, past few years, and man, it's just I feel like I'm a piece of the puzzle that can help us get there. And, I want to win one with my guys I came in with, and that's what I'm looking forward to do.
How do you describe the motivation internally, T? We know you're introverted, but what's going on the inside when you think about this season?
Just want to play my best at the end of the day, and put my best foot forward to help this team win games and be in the best position possible to get back to the Super Bowl.
You've been on the side where people are asking you about your teammates signing deals, and now this offseason they were asking about you. How do you keep it just football when you come back?
Man, I've always been about just football. Y'all been talking to me for, going on 5 years now. So, I've always been the same, haven't changed yet, and won't change. So, for me, it's just all about ball when I step inside this building. And it's going to continue to be that.
See, there was a point this offseason where it was sort of suggested that, you don't know, when the season comes, you might make business decisions and things like that was out there. What did you think when you heard things like that said about you?
I seen it. Obviously, it was a thought. Obviously, that's going to be a thought, especially what my situation was. But I'm a guy that likes to work, man, at the end of the day. And I just got to stay healthy this year. As long as I'm healthy, I'm good.
Is that the biggest thing for you? It's like, look, 17 games, as many snaps as I can, that is most important to you at this point? I mean, obviously outside of winning and things like that.
Right. Yeah, man. Going into this offseason, I told myself it's time to take care of my body more and more. I got to, treat my offseason like a pro. Whether it be putting the right foods in my body. Last year I was eating bad, fast food, a lot of fast food last year. This year, it's more, meal prep, the right thing, fueling my body in the right way. My body's let's say a Ferrari. You can't put 87 gas in Ferrari. You know what I'm saying? So you got to put 93. So that's how I look at it, and that's how I'm gonna go about it. So.
Were you taking from Chad, eat McDonald's, right? Was that kind of, you got to go away from that? No more of that, right?
See, if he is a Ferrari, he's a different type of Ferrari. So
T, as an introvert, a guy throughout since high school, when you're in the news for sports headlines, it's usually positive. You're making great plays, stuff like that. This offseason, so many people talking about your contract. How did you handle that mentally?
And one after the other, man. You know, it's really just me and my agent at that. You know, at the end of the day, you know, I'm not hearing what anybody else has to say. I'm hearing what he has to say. He has to give me the best advice. He's my agent. That's what he does, and that's what he does best. So, you know, it's just me and him. I'm not really worried about the outside noise.
You're catching passes from Joe for the first time since wrist surgery. How'd he look? How'd they feel? What'd you think?
He threw me a ball so deep today. I was like, man, what the fuck? But, man, he looked good, man. He looked good. I'm excited for him. He looks like, you know, the Joe y'all seen the Super Bowl run, so.
You waited until July 15th, till the deadline, to sign the tag. Was there a message you wanted to send by signing it as soon as OTAs ended?
Not necessarily. Obviously, I could have waited, but I just wanted to kill all the noise. I was tired of everybody tweeting me, all the other bullshit. You know, I just wanted to just kill all that and just lock in, man.
I purposely made sure it ended on that one, you know, because that really is kind of the theme of this from T. I'm just tired of this bull, man. Like, I'm done with that. I want to be about football. I want to work, and I want to go play and stay healthy and have a great year. Like, and all this other stuff that has been about this off season, I'm just done with it and I'm sick of it. And I just think his honesty about kind of being like, you know what, I'm just not really the kind of guy that likes dealing with all that stuff. It's uncomfortable for me. And sure, like I am trying to fight for myself and my own worth, but that's exhausting almost. And just the fact that he came out and said, look, I'm just want to be done with all this. I want to work. I want to help this team win a Super Bowl, and being honest about how hard kind of it was to get through this past summer, I thought was really genuine of him. And I certainly appreciated how honest he was about that with us.
Yeah. And what I really took from that too is like, these guys are really good at separating that. If you're a fan, you're kind of just following the cap situation, like, oh, wow, this contract thing, it's going to affect his play. If he gets hurt, he's going to sit out because it makes sense because I saw it on ESPN or this or that. And these guys are really good at compartmentalizing that stuff sometimes. I mean, like, if I've got an issue with the ownership, I'm still not going to let that affect how I play. I'm not going to be sulking on the sidelines, because you do see that in other teams and other players. Like, you know, we've seen that before in Cincinnati where guys will kind of get affected by that. But this current era, like, you know, you see a lot of guys that are able to just put football first and get out there. And it does say a lot about T. It makes me, as a fan, it makes me feel like, man, I'm going to miss this dude. Like, he grew up a Bengals fan. Like, if this is his last run with it, I'm trying to just enjoy, you know, a great season of T, hoping he stays healthy. I like that he's treating his body like a Ferrari. What car are you treating your body like to get through camp here?
Well, I mean, is it even a car? I don't even know. I don't even know what it is. Maybe like a minivan, probably, where it's just very little caring about the appearance. It's just for functionality at this point. Like, I need to have a body.
You need to get from point A to point B. You're going to fill it up with whatever it takes to get you there.
Yeah, it really doesn't matter. I mean, you know, like, you know, when people used to, when they were like stopping at the McDonald's to get the oils out of the back to fill their weird cars with, like, that's probably maybe more of the type of automobile that I'm driving at this point. I'm not sure. Yeah, I you know, and that's good. You know what? Try the same thing we had this conversation about Burrow, right? Is sit there and say that you want to be healthy and you want to get through a full season, but do something about it. Do something differently. Get bigger and stronger like he did. Change the way that you approach camp. In T's case, change the way that you do meals. Change what you're putting in your body. Try to be different about that. Maybe that is part of what's playing a role in some of the, whether it's soft tissue or any of the injury stuff that's kind of lingered throughout his career. If you want to put that behind you, try to do something differently. And I think that's really smart and proactive of him to do that. And I just appreciate anybody that is just able to look up and be like, man, I'm just tired of all the bullshit people tweeting to me, all kinds of craziness. Can we all just say that? Like, everybody's tired of just craziness.
Yeah,
that goes
I
on
really
out there.
appreciate that. Like, he wanted to put an end to the noise. Now,
Yeah.
unfortunately, that noise is just going to shift somewhere else. You can't end
Yes.
the noise completely. And it didn't even leave the team, with the Jamar Chase stuff bubbling up and that kind of catching fire in the national media because of what Mike Brown said and that kind of thing. And obviously the environment, the attitude towards that is very different. I heard you and Jay say, like, we're not concerned about this at all, whatever. It's the story now. It'll be fine. But I liked that at least T was cutting out the noise around him. He was like, this is what the situation is. It's still a lot of money. It's life-changing money. I'm going to go play with my guys and try and win a Super Bowl and just kind of take that spotlight off of himself.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know we've got questions that we're going to get to, and we'll talk about Chase here in a second. But before we go talking about Chase, we've got to get to our guy Eric Stanio.
Yeah,
our favorite realtor here at the Growler Podcast. What's going on, buddy?
Hey, Houday, Mark. What's up? Happy training day week and a fine training camp morning to you, Paul. Not a Houday to you.
Oh, thank you very much. I'll leave that hanging. So
yeah, I don't want that hanging. That's right. Look at that, Mark, looking good.
It's good to have you back after your vacationing. I hope you're feeling refreshed.
It's good to be back. We've been I understand the minivan. We've got 5 kids, and so we have not one but 2 Stanio Vanios to look around all those kids.
Yeah.
So we've doubled down in the functionality versus form on that front. So yes.
Well, quick reminder about our guy Eric Stanio. Make sure you're checking out the #1 real estate YouTube channel in Cincinnati over at Team Stanio, SZTANYO. All kinds of informative stuff over there, whether you want to know about neighborhoods, schools, how to buy, when to buy, the Cincinnati markets, all there. Make sure you are checking that out. It's a absolutely must visit if you are thinking about buying or selling or know somebody who is. All right. Do you have a question for me, Mr. Stanio?
Do I ever? Not one, but 2 questions today, Paul, if you can handle it. I mean, there's so much going on here.
If you can handle
a lot going on.
Yes.
I can handle it.
All right. Okay. So, training camp is here, new storylines. And what I was reminded of this week as the players reported was this team is just a lot of fun. Like it's a fun team to root for. And I was thinking about it. It's been a while besides, beating the crap out of the Bills and the 49ers last year, which was really fun. Most of last year was like kind of walking on eggshells and not super fun. We were just nervous. It was, really going back to 2022 and that 10-game historic winning streak where it's like, this team is great. And, the summer we had off-season stuff. There was Paris fashion show, which I was kind of like, okay, that I support that. That's my quarterback. Sure. But then when Burrow comes in and bleach blondes his hair, it was just like, that's my guy. I get that. That's dumb. That's like a stupid thing to do. Years ago, I took a bunch of kids from Anderson High School to a Young Life camp in Virginia. It's like 15 guys, and they all bleach blonde their hair, and they looked like morons. I loved it, and it was just hilarious and dumb. And I just am reminded, Burrow has said this offseason, like, I'm trying to not take it so seriously, and he just does the thing where there's a lot of pressure on this team to win a lot, and he just does something dumb, which is just funny. And I
think this is a little bit of an innate leadership thing too.
I do too.
Like I think people that change the conversation to being about them, lightening the mood in general before the beginning of a grueling camp is an important thing to do. How can you do that? I don't know. Draw the attention to myself by doing something stupid like looking like Slim Shady or whatever and make everybody laugh. And, it was, talking to guys about it. They are all laughing and pointing and thinking it's funny and it's something to talk about, something to laugh about. And now they're throwing BJ Hill under the bus about how BJ needs to get it is very high school, but you know what guys love? High school football.
Yes.
NFL players think high school football was the absolute greatest times of their life. And they love things like everybody doing something stupid like this. And so I get where Burrow is. I don't buy that he was just bored at all. He does
No way.
something
He's
usually
definitely
sort of goofy
no,
at
he's
the
way too
beginning of every
strategic for
camp
that.
that's not watching his appendix explode. Like, he usually is trying to do goofy stuff. I think he feels that need to lighten the entire tone of the room, and that's one way to do it. Without
100%, I agree with that. And he's always thinking strategy. And that's what's fun about, again, rooting for this team and him. He's kind of always taking the fan base and the team someplace we weren't really expecting. He's got a plan. So my first question, okay, that was a long intro, sorry, was and I know the pressure's on BJ Hill, but you see this in high school where one guy does it, a bunch of other guys do it too, if not the whole team.
Yeah.
You got to do the solidarity thing. So the question is, over under, how many of these egos of these NFL players have their hair bleach blonded by week 1 or here in training camp?
I don't know. So we talked to a few guys about it, and there was not a lot of momentum. Now, Andre Yoshavash was like, maybe, but look, I'm not cutting this beautiful hair. Okay. And I liked his point was like, look, maybe I would blonde it or something. Maybe I consider that. Like, but if you have you seen my look? Have you seen my aesthetic that I have going on? These are my words, not his, but you can kind of sense that. There are a lot of guys are like, I don't know if I'm really willing to go there. I did really enjoy the Bengals social video yesterday. So I was, as guys were walking out, we walk out kind of the same way that the players do. They were kids with BJ Hill cutouts that were really like that had him with blonde hair. And on the buzz cut, and I was like, all right, I like this peer pressure from the fan base right now. And Bengals social got the shot of BJ Hill walking out and seeing the kids with the cutouts, and you could sense being like, oh, damn it, I'm gonna have to do this, aren't I? Just shaking his head. It was a genuine reaction of crap. They got me on this one. This is not going away. I appreciated that.
So not many. You don't think, maybe
I would put an over under at 1.5.
What about back of the roster guy trying to get some extra passes in from Burrow and just, maybe wide receiver 8 is out there going blonde?
Boy, you better have some kind of relationship with Joe Burrow. Imagine being a guy that Burrow barely knows your name. You're an undrafted rookie, and you're like, look, Joe, me and you in solidarity. Like, no.
It's like you in the calf sleeve.
Yeah. Well, look, like if there's a legitimate medical concern, all right. God, taking me back to last year. I forgot about the calf sleeve. Oh, Christ.
Good job, Stanio. He's got PTSD now.
Way to bring it back. Well, I like it.
I blame everything on Paul from last year. So,
this is good. This is good. These are important topics, important conversations to have. But I want to make sure everybody knows one thing that's very important. You need to join the Stanio Clan, yo. You need to be part of the team of hundreds. We saw them all. We met them all at the Reds event. There were so many members of the clan, yo. It was great. And make sure you're over there at the YouTube channel at Team Stanyo, SZTANYO. In these times when housing affordability is being stretched to its limits, you need a trusted guide who can answer any and all of your real estate questions. There's so many. Eric is your guy. Eric is our guy. So make sure you are trusting him. If you or someone you know is looking to buy or sell, you can email directly info@teamstanyo.com or go to www.teamstanyo.com to connect. Mr. Stanyo, appreciate it. We will catch you next week on Dey Light.
Thanks, guys. Enjoy
later,
camp,
buddy.
Paul.
See you.
He's going to be showing up on the YouTube with bleach blonde hair probably next week.
I hope so. That would be amazing. Let's go. Where's the real peer pressure now? We need to enact the peer pressure. I want to see the cutouts of Stanyo with the buzzed cut bleach blonde from the Growl Palace. That's what I want to see. Send those.
Show up at every open house.
Drop them in the comments of the YouTube channel. I love it. I absolutely love it. That's great.
The Growl Pals come through with stuff like that. We did get a fun with flags Photoshop that somebody sent from the UK of you doing a flag themed show, which I liked. Growl Pals are always coming through on that respect. My problem with the Burrow hair thing, though, is like now fans are going to be doing the bleach blonde thing. And it's one thing for Joe Burrow to do it because he is a very in shape professional athlete. So it doesn't matter how silly your haircut is, you're still going to sort of pull it off. You know who's not going to pull it off is some guy that's like 40 pounds overweight in his late 40s with like, and he's doing like the sad buzz bleach blonde
Mm.
look, and it's just gonna
Mm.
be bad. There's gonna be a
Yeah.
lot. It was one thing if like, all right, we're gonna cut the backs of our shirts off, as an
Yeah.
homage to the fashion look that he sported. That's fun, and that's not a permanent thing, but we're gonna see a lot of residual fallout from this, some collateral damage among the fan base. So just prepare yourself for that, I suppose.
Did see that. Did see. I
Already?
saw one at camp yesterday of older guy. Now I don't know. Maybe that was always his haircut, and he's like, "Wow, this is great." We have discussed a good friend of the program, James Rapine, over at Cincinnati Bengals Talk, has always looked like this, but that's been his cut forever. That's just his traditional.
Oh no, that
look.
is a problem though, don't you think?
Not-
Because you're
He
talking
doesn't
about the
bleach it.
guy.
That's just his natural hair color, and he cuts it short. Like that's okay. I'm fine
Yeah.
with that.
But like imagine being the national media guys that show up and you're in a Joe Burrow press conference and you see James, you're gonna be like, oh my gosh, they let this guy into the press conference. He's trying to pull off the Burrow look, and then he'd be, oh no, this is I've had this look for a long time. You got to defend it. But to the casual person, it's gonna look pretty bad. And
He
that's
needs
not
to have
through no fault of his own.
always have some pictures on hand from when he was in high school, and that's the way he looked. Like, prove it. Which, by the way, that look, I had that exact haircut and look from grades like 4 till grade like 7. Like that's exactly what it looked like. The shades, the kind of way it was faded up, the color, you name it. Back in my hair days, that's exactly what it looked like. Now, I was like 10, but
So it brings back
I
some real
had it.
nostalgia there for you, huh?
Yeah. All right,
Did you
do we
get-
have
so-
some Q's and some A's that
We
we can?
do.
that
I don't know if we
can
have
get
A's,
to?
but we definitely have the Q's. Growl pals are coming through as always. Now that real football is happening, there's going to be a lot more questions. Send them to the growlerpodcast@gmail.com. We had one pop up. Are you privy at all? Did this break through to you, the Joe Burrow hair conspiracy theory that was going around Twitter?
There was a conspiracy theory about it.
So this was not on my radar, but we did have a listener send this in. And basically what it comes down to is that I think this was Ben, shout out Ben, that sent this in. There was something going around Twitter or Instagram about how like the buzz cut thing was Joe Burrow had gotten pranked, right? If you're not aware of the story, it basically went that somebody on social media had reached out to Joe Burrow and pretended to be somebody going through cancer and like basically asked him to shave his head in solidarity, and like because the guy was going through chemo or something, and so he did it. And then the guy was like, haha, I'm just a Ravens fan, you got pranked. And then he's like, okay, well, whatever, I'm just gonna bleach it then instead and just roll with it. And this was like catching a lot of steam apparently on Twitter once I started looking into it after the guy sent it to us. And he's like, I want to know if there's any validity to this. And I couldn't believe that it became a thing.
Wow.
People were actually believing that. Like, first of all, Joe Burrow's not like a big social media guy. You can't just get Joe Burrow with a Twitter DM and be like, hey, can you do this for me? And second of all, that wouldn't even have been a good prank for the Ravens fan in this hypothetical. Like, I pretended to be a kid with cancer to get you to shave your head. Ha ha. Like, that's actually a pretty
joke's on you.
Yeah.
Sure.
Oh, you're a good guy and I am evil? Like,
Yeah.
I really punked you,
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure. I was unaware of that particular bit of misinformation that was out there, but I'm sure that people though have enjoyed soaking up conspiracy theories.
But I bet as a reporter, you have like things like this will pop up from time to time and take on a life of their own and stuff like that. And that's got to be an annoying part of your job, though, when you do have the people that keep pushing that sort of thing.
When you're in the facts business, living in today's media landscape, is that what you're trying? Because yes, absolutely. I would say the fact that anytime anything is said, no, and this will probably feed into our next topic. I know we were going to get to Chase here in a second, but like, the moment anything is said that you don't want to believe, and I'm speaking through a Bengals lens here. I'm not getting into anything else. I'm speaking through a Bengals lens that you don't want to believe it. And immediately I see my timeline or the other reporters' timelines filled with, oh, you're just trying to do this and you're missing a report. You don't, quit being crazy and all of that stuff. Like, the immediate reaction being the media is the enemy with the facts that they're reporting. Like, I literally, like, I think yesterday I tweeted the exact things that Zach Taylor said addressing Jamar Chase. It was that he said that the last 2 days sitting out were part of the plan. He said, we'll see if he'll practice on Friday. He said he's fully healthy. That was basically my tweet of what happened. And then the first thing I see is, your reporting of this is just stirring the pot, whatever. You guys are chasing your tails. I'm like, it's literally just the words the head coach just said about the fact that the best receiver on the team is not practicing. That's it. That was what it was. And it immediately turns. And now I understand frustration in that regard when people feel like, oh, there's a bias against this team and they're not really telling the whole story. And there's a lot of the way things are reported that can be better. But I think the immediate reaction being, well, these facts are wrong and you suck. You're not reporting it right, or you should be saying it differently. Almost like a denial reflex sometimes, where it's like, or you could maybe just believe that we are reporting honestly here. And maybe they don't want to. Maybe they want to believe that we're all full of it and we're all biased and we all are just trying to get clicks, and that's totally fine. Like, y'all are, everybody's entailed to their opinion on that, but like, that is the immediate reaction that we've seen in the fallout from Chase. So the whole idea of non-believing and misinformation and disinformation and facts not mattering is it's fairly prevalent in our society.
Yeah, it is. But the bias thing, that's not even just a media thing. Like that's all throughout sports. Like, my dad has been watching Big East basketball games for as long as Xavier's been in the conference, and he is convinced there is a conspiracy among referees to just tank them in every single game, and he will go on at length about that.
I like it when it's like a specific referee,
Yeah.
And it would be like, oh, Teddy Hightower. Oh, not today, Teddy.
Anytime we know a referee's name, it's probably not a great thing. But if you're only doing like a team's games a couple times a season, that's kind of hard to have a very specific team-based grudge where you're like, finally, I get to get back to my slow tinkering master plan here of sabotaging the Bengals 3 times a year or whatever it is.
Yeah, well, hey, look, I don't want to bring up the name Ron Torbert, but there are names that set Bengals fans to the dark place. There's no John.
Well, that's different. That was clearly a blown call. But you were talking about Chase, and we did have a question there. This is from Paul, a different Paul, not from you. You didn't send your own question into the show. But a lot of Chase questions this week, but I think this one's worth talking about. He wants you to explain the situation to him like he's 5, which he says is his maturity level of this listener. He heard you talking about Mike Brown's comments and seeing the national stuff. So his point is, why would the Bengals want to wait? If Chase has a monster season, the price goes higher. If the salary cap takes another big jump, nobody expected it to go up $42 million this spring. The price goes up basically for Jamar Chase. Why would they not want to match or even go a little bit, just inch past that Justin Jefferson deal and, get him taken care of now when everything else is just going to make him more expensive? Explain it to him.
No, it's a good question. And I always love the explain it to me like I'm 5, because I always think of one of my favorite SNL characters of all time. It's Phil Hartman as unfrozen caveman lawyer. I am but a caveman, and so I always think of it that way. But for me on the Chase thing, I think the basic way that I look at it is any time that is more time under team control is for the best, in that, look, injury, performance, things change. The landscape does change a lot from year to year. Things can change with other receivers. Things could change with the way Chase is playing. Maybe he has a bad year. Maybe there's a blow up. Maybe you want to reassess it. The later you can, typically the better, and the more you can push compromise with true deadline. There isn't really a true deadline this year. I mean, deadlines get deals done, and this one is sort of like a half-assed one, really. I mean, the real one is next year before he plays that 5th-year option season. That's just the bottom line of it. And so that's typically what gets deals done, because that can get more compromise to come into the middle. That said, I don't think the price is going to go up more on Chase. Justin Jefferson's deal was so far beyond everything else. I mean, the gap between him and it was such a game changer. That's the deal that Jamar Chase wants. And Jamar Chase, for as great as he's been and as valuable as he is to the Bengals, and we heard the Bengals brass wax poetically about him in that regard this week, as great as he has not had his Justin Jefferson season yet. I think he can. I think if he has his Justin Jefferson season, his true best career year this year, he's now worthy of the Justin Jefferson contract, and you're even more willing to pay him that, and that's fine. But I don't see a bunch of people going over top of Justin's money. You're not going to see a bunch of teams suddenly paying receivers. Look, people might think CeeDee Lamb might think he's going to get more money than Justin Jefferson. He might be holding out for that and causing a ruckus. That ain't happening. Nobody that's hitting the free agent market at receiver next year is going to touch Justin Jefferson money, not with those levels of guarantees. That ain't happening. So I don't think the top of the market is changing. I think that Jamar's money will probably be pretty close to the same next year because the Jefferson deal will be part of it. Like that's what he's looking at. So that's not going to change. There's going to be no new top. And so for that fact, the longer you wait, the more information you have in front of you that you can take in. And when you're actually plotting what you're going to pay. So yeah, there's some advantages certainly to getting it done now, just to have it done, and you can figure out ways to structure things to add years and whatever. That's all very, I just think for the most part, the more data you have in front of you and the market, in my opinion, the top of it where Jamar is not really going to be changing. It doesn't really hurt you to wait. And I think you just play out this year without taking on all of that immediate cash spill or whatever. I mean, there's a bunch of other logistical contract stuff that makes people roll their eyes, but that's my basic take on it. Is the top of the market, I don't think, is changing.
Well, that, you're still going to have to field these questions in for a while. The Jamar Chase questions probably won't go away then if there's not like a new deal around the corner for him. But it's also like, it's not always the best player to position makes the top money. Like that happens a lot too. Right now, Joe Burrow is the highest paid quarterback, but that won't last. Jordan Love might eclipse that, or they might throw a bunch of money at somebody else. Like, eventually you just got to pay your guys, and maybe Chase isn't going to get Jefferson money, but he's going to get pretty good money. And
I think you can pay him Jefferson money. That's fine, especially next year. You're right. If the cap does go up, it does change where it's like, okay, you have more money on hand to pay. It makes more sense to pay the Jefferson money. It's not that big of an, you want to see what that cap number is before you go. And I just think the longer you wait, the better it is. The more important part is here. There's two facts that are important in this Chase sitting out. We'll see how long he does this, how long this goes on conversation. There's two facts here that matter. One, Jamar Chase is playing this season. Okay. Any thought otherwise is crazy bananas. Like I see no world where anyone would think that Jamar Chase wouldn't play in year 4 of a 5-year deal.
Yeah.
Guarantees or not on this team with Joe Burrow. We've heard what Tee Higgins had to say, what Burrow has to say, like what Trey Hendrickson had to say. These guys play for each other. This is a leverage play to remind the Bengals, hey, I can do some things here. That's fine. Okay. He's playing this year. 2, the Bengals are paying him at some point. Next year, they're going to pay. There's no world where the Bengals don't pay Jamar Chase at some point. Like, he's going to get the money. I would be absolutely floored, stunned beyond belief, if either of those things were proven untrue. Stunned.
And that's why, like, some of the national noise as a fan is just so boring and repetitive. It's like, we know that Chase is going to play. The whole entire narrative of the Bengals are cheap. They're not going to do this and that. And it's like, they pay Burrow. They made him the highest paid player in football. And it's also weird to me that they treat this, like any sort of contract issue, as a uniquely Bengals problem. When you see it in other teams, there's other teams that have guys that have contracts that are trying to get worked out. the Chiefs won a Super Bowl last year and Chris Jones missed, like camp in the first game of the season. Like that, other teams have issues like this. And what is refreshing, and we talked about it with the Tee Higgins stuff, is the way that guys are able to compartmentalize that and kind of keep the business stuff separate from the football stuff. But at the end of the day, you're right. Chase is going to get paid. He's going to be out there. Even if he's not out there now, this leads into our next question here. It gives a lot more time for these other receivers, a lot of reps for these younger guys that are making splashes. Ray wants to know, is there any kind of a camp battle for wide receiver 4 on the team? If you're assuming the top 3 are Chase and Higgins and then probably Burton, that might be up for a question. We'll see. But is there any kind of competition for that next spot between Charlie Jones and Yoshi and Trent and Irwin? Or is it more of an apples to oranges thing, depending on whether you play inside or outside?
Well, this is a good question, and one that we talked about as my quote of the day yesterday from wide receivers coach Troy Walters, who called Andre Yoshivas their number 3 receiver. And the position open right now is in the slot. That is the one vacated by Tyler Boyd. You're going to have Higgins and Chase. And so they put Andre Yoshivas on in the first day of training camp to work into the slot, to work as a slot receiver for the first time in his life. Okay. He didn't do it in OTAs. He hadn't done it in Princeton and done it in high school. But they said, look, he has come such a long way. And if you read my story on him and Chase Brown and the works they did with the receiver coaches this offseason, they had everybody talking about how good both of them looked in terms of improving as receivers and route runners and things like that. Said, hey, let's put this guy in the slot. Like, he looks like he can go do it. And that's the open spot. And he looks like our 3rd best receiver. And he handled it pretty well. And he has looked like the best receiver on the field in camp through 2 days. Now, that's 2 days, but he caught everything yesterday. And Troy Walters literally called him their 3rd best receiver, and they had to find a way to get him on the field. So I will challenge the assumption that Burton is the big 3. And they're not going to go crowning a rookie like Jermaine Burton a 3rd-round pick immediately anyway with that type of talk, who Burton has looked fine. You have a battle royal for all those spots, for the 3rd in the order, 4th in the order, 5th in the order. I think all of that is playing itself out, and I think you're getting all of them proving to be pretty versatile pieces that you can use both inside and out, which is something that they really valued in slot. They didn't want to feel like they had somebody who was so set. So if Yoshivas and Burton can both kind of be that kind of guy, that's good. And they battle it out to see who is maybe the more productive guy, or maybe there's certain plays or sub packages one is better in than others, and you can use them. But, Yoshivas has really established himself as a year 2 type leap guy over the course of this offseason and with the opportunities that he's making the most of to this point. So yeah, real battles everywhere. It's fun really in the receiver room to see all the battles that are happening there. I mean, Dan Pitcher said there's probably 5 to 7 different guys that you could argue that are in the mix to take slot snaps this year. And you start counting those up. You even include somebody like Chase Brown, running back Chase Brown, in there to be thrown in as a slot receiver type guy in certain packages, because they're just saying it's wide open. And so, yeah, it's a good question. It's a wide open battle right now to see who's going to be that 3rd receiver. But I'd put Yoshivas in the front because Troy Walters told me so.
Yeah, just dealing with facts. That's all you're about, and the real story. But you're right. That's going to be a fun position to watch in camp because you do have so many different options. And then, you've got Gesicki in the mix, and there's talk about maybe moving Chase inside at times and stuff like that. So it's going to be a really fun one. Growl Pals always coming through with the emails, so keep sending those to the growlerpodcast@gmail.com. We did get an ambush question for you this week about Burrow's hair. This is from Travis. He's, with the Burrow buzz cut, making a spotlight on the non-haired community, of which you are a part of. Mm-hmm. This is his question. For one that's truly balding, is it a vital step to embrace the complete shave, or is it acceptable to buzz at a 1 on a regular basis? This guy, Travis, said he started thinning in his mid-20s. He found the buzz worked for him, but he gets the impression from some in the community, again, you guys are a community and you are judging everybody else, apparently, which is not a great community. But he wants to know, as one that hasn't truly embraced the potential as a bald man, since he's not hitting, the cream isn't hitting the cranium on a daily basis. Is this okay? He wants your official position on this question.
So I think there is a divide within our community here. We're a subset. If you were a fractured group, there are some, give me the blade and the shaver and like all the way down every day people. I am not of that. I'm not a believer in that. And I'm more open to everyone to do whatever that they want to do. Some people say that you're wrong if you feel like you do, listener. However, I think you can, but it's got to be tight. You got to be kind of regular with it, and you got to, because the moment it starts to grow out a little bit too much, and you can more closely see, starts to get a little, that's when you got to be careful. Then you're not part of the community anymore. So you just got to stay on top of it a little bit. No one's saying you can't buzz with the one. But you don't have to be all the way down, but just showing that you're thinking about it, every once in a while. That's important.
Yeah, there's got to be some level of commitment is what you're saying. You can't just flirt with the community, then jump back out and then kind of yo-yo your way around it. You got to,
because you end up looking lazy. And then you don't want that. But bald men, lazy's not a part of us. We're accepting. We're active. We're proactive.
I like that. Your arms are wide open. You're welcoming people into the community, but you don't want them to shame the community, make you guys look bad. You don't want that lazy moniker. I can appreciate that.
Can't have it.
Balds are you stand up for what you believe in. I respect that.
Right.
Where do you want to go next?
Wherever you want to go, wherever you want to take it.
All right. Well, we should talk about. I'll throw this plug out there too. This is my last weekend for a few weeks on the road. I'm going to be at the Toledo Funny Bone tonight in glorious Toledo, and then the Dayton Funny Bone on Saturday. Then in August, I've got some shows around Ohio. I think I'm at a place called Cafe Alma on
Cafe Alma. I had breakfast at Cafe Alma.
Yeah.
Yes, very good. They've got like a Mediterranean flavor there, and I love Mediterranean food. Mediterranean breakfast. It was awesome. I really liked it. It's in the old Molly Malone spot in Peerage.
Okay.
Pleasant.
All right, you're selling me. I didn't really do any research before agreeing to the show.
It's really good. No, I really liked it. Like I'm going back, and I'm not just saying that because you're going to do comedy there. I legitimately is like, this is a good spot. And it didn't remind me of the old Molly Malone's at all, which is the biggest compliment that I can give to that place.
That is a strong endorsement. I'll be there August 6th. That's a clean show. So I'll probably have my 11-year-old daughter with me in tow. She'll be running my merch table for that one, probably like a little lemonade stand. And then I'm going to there's something at the Columbus Crew Stadium I agreed to do on August 14th. And then I'll be kind of around Cincinnati for a little bit as we watch the beginning of this football season. And then I'm going later in September to Vegas, and then in October to Wisconsin and Atlanta. And then I'll be coming to Virginia and Michigan in November. So also, I wanted to put this out there for any Growl Pals that do want to come to a show. Just hit me up on social media, and I'll get you on the comp list. I'll hook you guys up. We respect the Growl Pals here. We got a lot of appreciation for everything you guys do, sharing the show, leaving good reviews, doing all that kind of stuff. So I'll get the hookup going.
There we go. The benefits of being a Growl Pal, they just continue to build.
Yeah, it continues to pay off. And that's what we're about, is giving you all this extra value, whether it's free tickets to a comedy show or, post training camp practice videos on the YouTube channel. There's just more value than ever for being a Growl Pal. And that's what we're trying to build here.
It just shows up on your doorstep in dry ice.
When the Graders Ferry strikes, you never know. Yeah. You never know when that's coming down the pipeline.
Unbelievable. It's just a special feeling. We actually they sent some over to our house, and I think my daughter is still running around downstairs with a giant smile, holding the chocolates in the air, skipping around our kitchen.
That's great,
because it was it's just a special feeling. True level of excitement that you could have.
Yeah, I think that maybe we probably could have kept that story off the air. Like you're talking about how we like sending graders to the people and you're sharing the wealth. And now you're just like, well, I'm keeping all the graders for myself. Just
They shared
hoarding
it with me.
at
It was a surprise. It was a delightful surprise from our
There's
good
no
friend.
better surprise than surprise graders, though. Like that's
No.
great when that shows up.
Loved it.
I did want to run this by you. I don't know if this will make it to the stage or not. So I kind of want to get your opinion on this about bad hotel stories. Because I stayed in the worst hotel that I've ever stayed in, or at least in the last 5 years, probably when I was in Kentucky. A lot of times the club will set up the hotel, right? And they'll say, here's where you're staying, whatever. Then other times they'll offer you money. You can take the buyout and then just get your own room, especially if you're not going to stay there for both nights. Like Kentucky shows, I'll drive home after the shows are done at the last day of the weekend, right? So I just did one night in a hotel down there in Lexington, and I picked a Hampton Inn because it's a very reliable chain. I'm a Hilton Honors member. I'm loyal to the brand. What I didn't realize at the time is that it was an independently owned and operated Hampton Inn. And so that's right away where the trouble starts. All the reviews in aggregate were good, but I didn't look at the recent reviews, which were very, very bad. The first warning sign I had when I got there is I was checking in early, and so I could see the people cleaning the rooms, and it was just two older dudes that could not have looked less interested in their jobs. Then I got to the room. You could tell they made the bed, but the rest of the room was not great. You could tell that somebody had recently cut themselves shaving in the room in various parts of the room. So that was kind of disconcerting. And then I looked at the recent reviews and they're all bad. It's just this place is garbage. It's dirty. It's gross. Even the good reviews were bad. They had 1 4-star review in the last 3 months. The first sentence of it said, the one thing you need to know about this hotel is that you are very safe. This fact should make you feel very happy that you are safe in this. I'm like, is this a review or a threat? It sounded like a threat.
Yeah, we really should. The bar should be higher than safe, and the need to tell people that they're safe. Like, it's not going to look like it, but trust me, you are.
Yeah, it's Lexington, Kentucky. I thought I was safe anywhere, and all of a sudden, no, this is the one place you are very safe. I'm like, okay, well, this makes me feel somehow worse about this. What's the worst hotel you stayed in?
We had a bed bugs incident once.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And they didn't even comp the room. They tried to say, look, we'll give you 10,000 points. And I'm like, you think bed bugs equals 10,000 points? First of all, your number is low. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, absolutely not. Bed bugs is a minimum 100,000 point situation. Like, if you're not comping this room, how are you not comping the room immediately? Sorry about the bed bugs. You won't have to pay for your night stay or your move or the fact that you have to like burn all of your stuff that you brought in here. Like I was none too happy, and that
should have been comped room plus the 100,000 points. Like just to keep that off of, reviews that you might leave or podcasts that you might host. Like you want to keep that out of the world and that energy out of there.
Yeah.
Where was the hotel? You want to name them? You want to throw them under the bus? I already took a shot at an independently owned and operated Hampton Inn at the Lexington Airport.
It was downtown Indianapolis Courtyard. There is a complex in there with a courtyard and a spring hill. It's just off of downtown a little bit. It was my combine hotel for the longest time, and we stayed there. And never again, absolutely never again will we stay in that spot. So keep that in mind. Always good to throw people under the bus that disrespected you.
Yeah, Growl Pals, steer clear of that hotel, of that property, in unity with Paul.
Absolutely.
How was the festival?
It was just such a big weekend. It was such a big weekend.
It's got to be the flag's still flying.
The flag's still flying. So Friday night attended, Saturday night worked the beer booth, and then Sunday took the kids. So did it in 3 different ways. We basically was there all weekend. Great times, lots of money given, donated in the best ways. There's a bit of a dilemma. Like, so when you go to these things and you have the kids section and they have all the little cheap toys and tchotchkes and stuff, I just think as an event, you've got to be careful which of the cheap toys you're choosing. There was one that was just a super loud, was yellow. It had some sort of thing inside of it that made when you blow into it, it'd be insanely loud. Like, I don't know, not almost like a train whistle or something. It
Oh,
was just like
fun.
super loud. And it startles everyone every time someone blows into it. I'm like, you just can't have anything where basically for a one punch ticket, you're now going to be startling your customers all across the festival. Okay. And it's also cheap, so it quickly breaks. And now I'm at the dilemma where do I go try to get another one because you're super sad about the fact this, or do I, for the betterment of everyone and myself, just say, oh, I'm not doing it and deal with the tears? And I don't like being put into that spot. We could just not have those there in the first place. But it does bring joy to the children, but I just think there's a bit of a fine line there of between cheap toy and startling everyone all the time.
That's a rare festival L right there.
Yeah, it still was great. I mean, look, no questions asked. But that's part of the things you got to think about when you're doing the cheap giveaways. I also wonder about people that do the ring toss for 2 liters.
Oh,
and
okay.
just
Hold on.
walk
Let's
out
see what
with
this is.
multiple, like grown adults
Oh, okay.
walking out with like a 2 liter of Mountain Dew and Coca-Cola under their arms, like big night, big win at the festival. Got the 2 liters. Should we be that proud to drink 2 liters of pop if we're not? If you're a child, that's a big score.
Yeah, you got some soda. That was my game though at church festivals, because it's like the only really fun skill game. And I would play that when I was, 10, 11, hitting up the ring toss. I got banned from it one festival because I had like 12 2 liters of pop because I really figured it out. It was a good season for me.
The big deal now are these progressive pots, which I am addicted to these. The ones that build and you see how much, if you can throw the cornhole bag in from like 50 feet away, then you pay $5 for 3 throws and the pot builds and builds and builds
I like
until somebody
this.
does it. They have a mug slide, which they've had for a long time. It got up to like $1,400 on Friday night.
Whoa.
Because it was really hard to do. So you get the long line of people trying to do it. They're just coming up with more and more of these now. And I love it. Like, I wanted the entire festival to just be progressive pots. Because you could actually hit for real money on some of these. And then half of it goes to the church, and that's fine too.
Right.
But I was very much
gambling.
addicted. I gave a lot of money. There was a new one called Hangman, which was just fascinating as a psychology experiment to just watch people's reaction to this. It's just a bar, and they lift you up in the air and see in a clock above, and it counts how long you can hold on until you fall. And
This
people
is
would
awesome.
just be fixated and just couldn't get enough. The crowds would gather the moment you walked into the festival. The moment the festival opens, there's a person walks over to the bar and 10 people are just drawn to it to go watch. And so it's a person hanging and everyone's staring like, oh, how long is he going to go? I can do better. And then that person goes up there. It was the most popular thing going on in the festival all night long. We're lucky enough our beer booth was right next to it. We just got to watch the crowds gather and grow as people had a little bit more to drink and decided they definitely could beat 48 seconds or a minute 32 or whatever ended up being the number at that time. And I don't understand why we're all so drawn to watching a person hang on a bar, but man, we as human beings are.
What a great spot for the beer booth to be right next to Hangman. And that's even like great for side bets. Like, oh, is this drunk guy going to even last 25 seconds? And you can gamble on that. Like, gosh, what a great festival game. Like, we're going to ours on Sunday, man.
A lot of judgment on the person a lot of judgment on the person that's walking up to the bar as we say, okay, 20 seconds over under. And you'd be like, well, I mean, but the thing is the younger like girls who don't have a ton of like weight, they would be the ones that could do better than almost anybody else. Big strong dude actually is gonna have a hard time with it. It's like it's the CrossFit, like the younger CrossFit people. That's really where you gotta the Hangman plays.
I don't know that St. Margaret of York has Hangman, but if they do, I appreciate the inside info that I can use this weekend and start betting on the CrossFit women to win this event. Did you try the Hangman? Did you get up there?
No.
Okay,
I knew I would be unsuccessful. It would not be the type of game for me.
Yeah, you don't want to bring the podcast down. Now that you've got a little bit more visibility than you had last year at the festival, because you got the podcasts, and you can't really make us look bad by getting up there and only lasting like 15 seconds or something like that. So
yes,
I appreciate that. Did you
also
do,
shout out to the band The Remains? Like, instead of the Ramones, The Remains.
That's cute.
Rocked. They were really good. It was like, this is a professional set, man. These guys are pros. They're playing the hits. They're playing classic rock. They were taking requests. They were crushing it all night long. I was all about it. If you go to a church festival and you see that The Remains are playing, you're going to be happy. And you're also going to be, you're going to see a crowd coming in because they got groupies, man.
So you are all Hangman. Did you give up on your Ducky Downs obsession that you talked about last time? Like, you're all Hangman now?
Ducky Downs. We Ducky Downs. That's where I focused my time when I was playing. And my daughter won. We bought out a number of numbers in the race. She caught a winner. So that streak continues where we've had a winner most years. And so, yeah, great time at Ducky Downs. And, there's ongoing negotiations to potentially acquire Ducky Downs for a rental fee.
Yeah, you should become like a franchise owner of Ducky Downs, and that's like your side hustle is just going around to carnivals and festivals with Ducky Downs. Maybe you invest in a Hangman bar yourself and really get that going.
At this point, it seems like a strong investment. At this point,
Absolutely.
All right.
Church festivals rule.
They really do. All right. Well, we have plenty more coming your way. The Bengals have a practice Friday. Off Saturday. They're back Sunday with a night practice out at the practice field. It's that back together day thing, but it's because of Macy's that's been going on and everything else. It's not in the stadium. They're doing a thing at the practice fields. Then Monday, there's a practice that's finally open to everybody, not just season ticket holders or suite holders and stuff. And so we'll have plenty more. Jay and I will continue to have those 10-minute recaps of things that have gone on our YouTube channel. Make sure you're following over there, the Growler Podcast at YouTube. When you have questions, make sure you are sending them to us at the Growler Podcast at gmail.com. If you want to ambush me, you can always let Mark know that it's ambush time and he can take care of that. But otherwise, we'll still be back with you. We'll be back with another full episode. Jay and I, Mo will be back next week. We'll be back with Dey Light. It's just cranking. It's just that time. We are off. We are officially deep in it. So make sure you keep it locked to the Growler on all of your preferred podcast platforms. Thanks everybody for listening. We'll talk to you next time. Have a good one.